ladies and gentlemen, to all martial arts school instructors and directors. Our motive at the Empower channel is unconditional. If you're in this business, we want to bring you globally solid operators and directors, those who have achieved success and are coming across with great sincerity. We want during this time to turn your discouragement into encouragement. We want to help direct your steps. We want you to stay faithful and not frustrated. Today is a vital message. It's on school reopening guidelines. The Empower channel has a special guest, and he will fill the shoes to bring home this message. A special friend from Deer Park, New York. Could you all welcome and say hello, Mr. Charles Chai?
Greetings, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
Charles is a traditional karate master, Aikido, Aiki Jiu-Jitsu, Filipino martial arts, Muay Thai, Krav Maga. I mean, the review of his instructors is like a who's who in the martial arts. But moreover, Charles, before I unleash you on this important subject, I want to thank you because I consider you from my heart a kind of like a personal advisor. You help keep me on track. And boy, do you tell it like it is. Charles, tell me about where you are right now in your thinking.
Well, I think right now it's important for not only myself, all school owners, we have to have, first of all, a positive mindset, because in our community, we actually need to be a beacon of light. There's so much negativity. There's so much scary news out there that people really, they need some reassurance that things are going to be okay, that things are going to move forward, and that it's going to, it's going to turn out all right. We're going to get back to normal. And if we can be that person, which we should be, we're teaching them a level of self-defense that goes a little bit beyond the punch, the kick, the throw. We're teaching them how to protect their lifestyle and their livelihood and have a proper way of thinking through this challenge that we all are facing. So what we're doing is we're just teaching them how to fight against the challenges in life.
So you've been studying the USA federal guidelines for reopening, haven't you? And I'm going to ask you some specific questions. What are you finding out? How have you taken the information and synthesized it down for this segment?
Well, one of the things, there's a tremendous amount of information out there, first of all. There's pages and pages. But what we have to look at is what can we do to reassure our clients that if they come back here, this is the safest place they could possibly go. We have to have guidelines. We have to have procedures. We have to have the protocol in place that reassures people and makes them comfortable about returning. Because I think we have to deal with three different mentalities as far as bringing our students back into the school. And I'm sure everybody's going to agree with that. It's the first one, they're itching to get back no matter what. As soon as you open the door, they're going to be rushing in. The second group is, all right, I'll come back, but is everything okay? Is everything in place that will keep me safe? And then there's the third group that's going to say, I'm not coming back until this is all over. So we want to be able to prepare for those three groups. And if we have the right procedures, we have the right plan, then everybody's going to be more comfortable. And, proper planning prevents poor performance. So we want to make sure that our clients see that we're properly prepared. We have everything under control, and that this is the safest place that they could possibly go in the community.
Beautifully. And it's big that you talk about in your remarks today about student and parent interpretation of your preparedness. Is that right?
That's the most important part, because it's not what I think, it's what they think. And we have to be particularly sensitive to those people that they might have lost a loved one during this challenge. So they're going to be particularly sensitive about, the virus, and that, okay, I don't want to get this, or I don't want to spread it to anybody else. Is this really safe conditions? And the procedures I put together, I think they exceed what we see in our grocery stores. We have to go to the grocery store to get food. I don't see them as many strict guidelines as what we're going to put in place as a martial arts school. So I think we're
Beautifully.
going to be infinitely safer.
Perfect. Charles, I'm going to bring up about 10 points and we're just going to merge right through them. Okay.
Yes, sir.
First of all, general in the USA, the federal guidelines, what are you finding out for reopening generally? I'll ask you some specific questions.
Well, they have, gosh, once again, there's pages and pages of it. So you have to filter through it. And you have to say these things pertain to an industry and these don't pertain to our industry. So the main thing that they're looking for is maintaining that social distancing guideline and also having some type of way to filter out people that are at risk and people that might be potential carriers, and then also putting an environment in place where if somebody is coming in, everything is perfectly safe, sanitized, re-sanitized, so that with the experience that they get inside your facility is a safe one, and when they leave, they're very comfortable and say, it's like, okay, this was the most safe place I think I've ever been. The state is pretty much echoing what the federal guidelines are, but they're being a little bit more specific towards the different industries. And so we are actually in the health and fitness industry. That's where we're categorized. So with that, they want everything wiped down with antibacterial sides. They want a certain type of hospital grade disinfectant used on mats. They want everything cleaned after it's immediately been used. So you can't wait. You can't clean at the end of the day like we used to do in the past. And we have to put in guidelines, little safety things, so that we can prevent people coming together. You know, it's kind of hard as a martial arts school because we're so used to the high fives and stuff, but we're going to have to go back to the old way. We're going to have to bow. We're going to have to give a salute and just keep it out of space.
Great. Let me jump in. And so I can ask you questions where you can go into this type of detail. So when they talk about the 3 phases out there, generally, what does that mean to you, to us, and to you?
Well, the 3 phases is how you're going to bring them in. And this is, I'll give you an example. I'll set up the scenarios like we have to do here in the school. We're going to have a leadership team member out on the sidewalk. You have to communicate to parents that there's a new procedure now. You can't come in and wait for your children right now because then you'd be in with other people. Drop them off at the sidewalk. So we're going to meet and greet them there. Is everybody okay? Does anybody in your family have any problem with their health? Is there any kind of issues that are related to COVID-19? Okay, all right, fine. Log you, go to the next step. Come in the front door, another leadership team member with the gun to take their temperature from their forehead. Okay, temperature's good. Okay, take your bag, go to your square. And there's going to be a bunch of squares. I think I showed that to you one time before. A bunch of squares that you're going to have on your floor. You can do it with, I recommend painter's tape because it's easy to come up and doesn't leave a lot of sticky residue. Stay on your island. That's your safety island. Don't move from there. And that way, they're kind of isolated. That's all spaced out, 6 feet square, 6 feet apart from the next person. And they can enjoy a gradual education to martial arts, because a lot of them have been at home and not been practicing. We found, and I've talked to a lot of school owners, they're maybe getting sometimes as little as 30% people participating on Zoom. I know we get about half of our membership on Zoom. So a lot of them haven't been doing anything. So we got to get them back into the swing of things. We're going to have to shorten classes because once class is over, we have to release them one at a time so that they go out without running into someone else. Then we have to disinfect the floor. And then we'll start one at a time, bringing in the next group. Now we have 2 decks, one on this side, one on the other. So our front door is for deck 1, the back door is for deck 2, so they don't run into each other. So that allows us to maintain that social distancing protocol that the feds and the state want. Now, slowly, that's what we call the non-contact stage.
Mm.
We don't want anybody to really touch anybody else. Even correction by the instructors is going to be more just verbal. We're not going to go over and touch anybody. Now, after we've done that for a period of time, we can go to stage 2, where we have what we call a minimal amount of contact, which means maybe they'll hold clapper paddles or focus mitts for each other. And that would be the second stage. And then finally, the third stage, they can get back to where they're doing self-defense technique, grappling on the floor, and pretty much the way it was before this all happened. But you have to separate those stages and gradually go through it and then see what happens.
And you're talking about safety first, really. You're getting out the message way ahead of time that you're putting an emphasis on safety and precaution and prevention of anything that could happen. How do you feel about students wearing masks or your instructors wearing masks? What's your thought?
Well, I would encourage it by the instructors. I know there are some people that says, well, how can you work out with a mask? You're not going to be working out that hard. If you've got the N95 mask that really covers you, it is hard to breathe. I tried jogging with one the other day. It's difficult to breathe once you get going. But the other masks that just kind of cover to, keep the spit in, so to speak, I think those are fine. You can still breathe with those, and you could always pull it down and take a breath and put it back up. But we want to, you know what it comes back down to, and this is something that I think a lot of people need to really remember. It's our ethics in this. We're martial artists. We're trying to teach people to be doers of good. We're like superheroes. We wear a uniform. We fly through the air with sidekicks. We're the good people. We have to think of what are we doing for our clients? Are we putting them at risk? And that's the last thing I want to do. I know some school owners that they completely closed down their school and said, hey, this is so bad, I don't want to put anybody at risk. But then again, on the other note, now you've neglected your students. You haven't given them something that they need, which is to exercise to stay healthy. So in caring, you kind of wasn't caring. So we want to be able to care for them and get them back into shape and start to get them into a positive mindset through the teaching of martial arts. But on the same note, I don't think I could sleep at night if I thought I was responsible for someone getting this. And so I want to make sure that we can maintain every level of safety we can to prevent anything, happening in the negative.
Tell me about communication. How do you want to communicate prior to opening and during opening and after opening? They say that you can never do enough communication, and there's different mediums for communication. What are you thinking about for that?
Well, I learned that actually through the members of ESC. You over communicate everything that you do. And it says, did you hear about what we're doing? Yes. Okay, well, here's a flyer for it too. So you have to use every means at your disposal. You have to use email, text messaging, snail mail, if you have that available to do all the printing and put the stamps on. If you have to make phone calls, when this first happened, we sat down and we called each and every family member. First, how are you doing? Does anybody in your family have this terrible disease? Is everything okay? Hey, I tell you what, don't panic. We're transitioning to online classes, so you'll be able to continue your training at home with no problem. And that was the last thing we talked about, transitioning to online classes, first and foremost, their health. So we want to always be perceived as that person that cares about them. And I think, that as a martial artist that's been doing this all their life, that's what we really represent, is the caring person that's worried about our students, because we have that relationship with them that kind of goes beyond just, it's not a business relationship. It's something much more personal. And we have to meet and exceed their expectations of how we care for them. And they need to see that.
Yeah, it's about respecting and encouraging them. And that's been a motto of your business practice for many years.
And I learned that more from EFC. It's
Charles,
people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
I love it. Let's go back and review a little bit. I'm going to throw a topic that you hit on and you expound on it additionally. Mat layout, what would you say again?
First of all, every school owner knows when you start kids in class, they gravitate towards each other. So as soon as they do some movements, whether it's punching, kicking, or just using footwork, they start getting closer together. So you're going to have to put visual dividers on the floor so that they can see that there's a space that they can stay on. Now for the younger kids, we're going to call it a safety island. You have to stay on your safety island so that you stay safe and that the other people around you are safe. If you go out of that, the sharks are going to get you. So stay on your island. And space those, give them 6 square feet because that's really what they need to move around. And then put 6 feet in between each square. I made a diagram for that, and please feel free to share that with everyone. If you can do that, then it's pretty reasonably assured that even if they're, breathing hard, that is not going to be communicated to the other students in the class.
Social distancing when they're coming in and when they're in class, what are your thoughts again?
One at a time. You make a kiosk out on the sidewalk. Put little lines down on the sidewalk, little dots, whatever you have to do. They do it at most of the stores now. When the stores, if you go to Walmart, there's a kiosk outside with little lines. You see, you stand on your line, there's another person 6 feet behind you. Do the same thing. Now, in the beginning, when you was mentioning about communicating, you have to communicate to the parents. Guess what? These are your days and these are your times for your classes. This is when you have to show up. There'll be somebody waiting out on the sidewalk for you, for your child to come in. Okay, please be here 5 minutes ahead of time. We're going to greet them, log them in, because we're not going to let any of the students handle cards or buttons to log in. So that way we can keep track of them. They come in, their temperature's taken, and they go right to their square. Next person in. As soon as they've gone and they've gotten on the deck, then the next person can come through the door. So it has to be kind of like a little kiosk system where you can bring them in one at a time and not let them group together. Now, I'm sure outside, when friends see each other, they're probably going to gravitate towards each other. And yeah, I get it. But, if I can control it, I'll keep them apart.
And for clarity, how many stations do you have upon the entry procedure for a student?
Well, the first station is the meet and greet out of the sidewalk. Second station is at the door to take their temperature. And then the third station is getting them out onto their island, their safety island. Now, there's only going to be, excuse me?
When they leave?
When they leave, it's just the reverse. In between each class, when we're sterilizing also, we're going to take the temperatures of the instructors just as a safety procedure to make sure they're okay too. I mean, we have to worry about our instructors, well-being just like we do our students.
Mm-hmm. And any additional elevated sanitation protocols?
Now, well, we have our Perel hand dispenser at the front door and at the back door. And we have little pumps all around the school where anybody could sanitize at any time. But what we did is we got the standalone one, and that's going to be out of the front door so that they can, as soon as they come into class, put a little on their hand. As soon as they leave class, put a little more on their hand. Overdo it. Gob them down with that sanitizer. If it's, if it makes them feel more safe, then do it. It's going to cost you a little more for a while, but like I said, it's not going to last forever. It's going to blow over sooner or later.
Charles, how do I get my instructors to adhere, to understand, to follow the guidelines from their perspective?
Train, train, train. Nag, nag, nag. It's the same old formula. We have to be considerate of most of my instructors, quite honestly, they're itching to get back to work. They're like, okay, we'll make another video. But they're like, man, I miss my students. I really want to be up in front of a class. It's like giving a speech to an empty room. It's hard to get impassioned about stuff. So if we can get them into the right frame of mind to say, well, safety, I have to care about them. I have to show that I care. And I really do care. Or else, why are you in this business anyway? You're in the wrong field. It has to be you care about people. We're changing people's lives through the practice of martial arts. And that's very impactful. And, you know, I'm sure every school owner is going to say the same thing. Their most valuable possession is that little box that they have in their closet with all the thank you cards and letters that they've received over the years from students who you've changed their lives. Sometimes they're from parents, but I mean, we all have that. And every time you get a little down, you go and you get that box out and you take a look and say, yep, that's why I'm doing this. I change people's lives. And we have to remember, we want to change it in the positive. We don't want anything negative to be associated with our instructors, our school, or myself. So let's keep this on a positive note. Let's do everything in our power so that we can keep people safe, and then, you know, turn them on to the wonders of martial arts.
You have been talking about, we can either see this as a distraction, which, you know, it is what it is, or we can say, look, let's rise up, let's follow the protocols, and let's figure out how to make the school continuous. Let's have school continuity. And so how do you see you developing the sense of continuity and forward thinking and process moving into the regular classes? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, first of all is that positive mindset. We all know the story about, you know, supposing the troops go into the general's tent during battle and they see him on the floor sobbing. That's not going to inspire people very much. So you want to be the person that's full of confidence and excitement about what's going on. Preparedness. Prepare for the worst. Supposing they keep your state locked down and they just won't let health studios open really quick. I was just talking to my friend Bill Taylor down in Tennessee. They let him open up, and he says he's about 50% capacity. That's great. And then for my friends here in New York, no, they didn't let us open up yet. So we're still preparing for that when they say, okay, pull the trigger. And then even at that point, it's going to be limited. We're only going to be able to open to a percentage. And I already know, sadly, that a lot of businesses, they're not going to be able to survive this. And I feel very bad for them. And one of the things that I really am thankful for is the members that were a part of our school that said, hey, we understand that we're all going through this. Keep my membership active. I'm supporting you. And also, you know, I feel bad for the ones that they lost their jobs. But we have to be sensitive to everybody. And we want to make sure that we're, once again, as I mentioned before, we're that beacon of light. We're prepared. We have a plan. Everybody can see that we're well prepared and that we have it all planned out. And we can get through this as long as we do it together. And communicate with the parents what to expect, because things have changed. And it's going to be this way for a little while. Continue to do your online classes, because there are going to be people that don't come back, and still let them enjoy. Even if they can't pay, it doesn't make any difference. Keep them in the swing of it, because, you know, they'll go back to work sooner or later and they can pay. And I'd rather show compassion than say it's all about the money. Really? That's not what we do this for. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're showing that confidence that needs to be shown by the general, so that you can rally the troops and get them going. I mean, I've seen some people, they're giving up. I'm like, what's with that? You know, as the saying goes, there are some men that are going to remain in the ranks. They're not stepping up. We have to step up. We have to be that beacon in the community that says, hey, you know, follow us. Come on, we're going to get this going. And don't worry, we've got it all thought out. And our staff is going to be on the same page, because we train for them to do the exact same things. They will talk, but you'll hear my words coming out, because they've been trained to do that.
Charles, after phase one, when your doors are unlocked and they, for the first time in a long time, swing open, 6 months down the road, where do you see your school? I'm putting you on the spot.
I think there's this, you know, the old saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right? We have, during this crisis, probably produced more videos than anybody else. I mean, right now, I think on Facebook, we have about 140, 150 videos. Why stop, and why not use that to our advantage? And what I mean by that is monetize those videos. You've got your curriculum now on video. Find yourself a platform that you can offer those videos for a monetary value for people that might not ordinarily just come into your school, or people that maybe live so far away that they can't come to your school. So what we're in the process of doing now is developing our website to have a secured area where all our videos are stored. And hey, do you want to buy my Yellow Belt course? Okay, for $197, you can buy the course, study all the videos, and when you're ready, make an appointment to come into the dojo, and we'll test you for your Yellow Belt.
Brilliant.
So I think that's what we all need to do, is we have to say, is like, we made these videos, now what do we do with them? Put them on some type of platform where you can, one, offer them to your own students. So you can say, hey, Johnny, you know, you didn't get your technique just right. I want you to go home and study this video, because we want them to practice at home anyway. And then what about marketing for the future with the videos we have by offering it to people who might not normally come into our school?
Charles, I've absolutely loved this segment. I think you've been a real giver. I think the martial art community will really enjoy it. The message I got that these martial arts schools, we've got to make every effort to meet and exceed all governmental guidelines. We have to surpass it. And what I got from you is that you want to be the beacon of light. You want to plan so you're ready to go, and you want to be well prepared. In closing, give me one inspirational message in closing to keep me elevated on a high and encouraged. What would you say? What would be your message?
You know, there's an old saying in Chinese, nothing very, very good or very, very bad lasts very, very long. How you respond to your challenges in life is a direct reflection of what's really inside. So if I squeeze an orange, what's going to come out? Hopefully orange juice, right? Mm. When you're under pressure and you got squoze, what came out of you? Mm. Is it something you want other people to see? Is it a good example for your kids? Is that what you want them to emulate when they get older? What you did during this challenge? And I think that we wanted, as school owners, we want to look back on that and say, how did I respond to this? Did I do it in a positive way and a negative way? And I can remember in military, they used to tell us, they said, you know, if you're in that foxhole and the bullets start going overhead and things start exploding and you look at the guy next to you and he's crying and just clutching his gun, quickly go over to the next foxhole and get away from him. We have to separate ourselves from the energy vampires that are all negativity, just trying to suck the goodness out of us. And we have to stay with positive, like-minded people so that we can project that same energy to our members and allow us to move forward.
I love it. Thank you for helping us, Charles, stay faithful and not frustrated. And I certainly enjoy the relationship that we have with you. I'm very grateful for it. You always tell it like it is, and you're very beneficial to the bigger cause of growing martial arts. And we thank you for that very much.
My pleasure, sir. There was a wise old man that always told me the rising tide raises all boats, and I want them all to go up.
We'll drink to that. Thank you.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.